Aquarius, we're going to look at what is happening with you guys. Now, welcome for those of you who are new. If you're wanting to get live feeds as to what's going on the channel, please click the bell and then you can get updated. Again, we do live feeds regularly, so if you want to be part of that, click the bell and you can be part of it. Now, August is a pretty heavy month, although we are moving out of it and away, but we are going in. We're going into the deep, and we are also looking over old actions, old triggers, blocks, perhaps relationships, and anything that really has been preventing us from reaching our full potential. So be mindful that this month, when you are looking at different readings on YouTube, that sometimes you might get a bit confused as to why certain energies are coming through in the videos. That can be because if your mind is on the past, some of that energy might be coming through. And I'll explain how we go through. Now, your crowning energy this month, what you're coming in with. Now, it can be, you know, something needs to change. And you know, in some area in your life, you feel you need to change for it to become better. You might not be seeing it at that stage yet, but moving through the month, you will have that aha moment and realization. It can be that you're feeling, is anything going to change for the better? But you're looking over old dynamics and old blocks and realizing that that has to be. Now, what you're directly, how you're directly looking at things can be very emotional, can be disconnected at times through the month. So have a look at, in order for these changes to come about, how in balancing the emotion aids that forward movement. But if you're feeling a disconnect or an overwhelming feeling, it prevents it, but it's a temporary delay. So don't be harsh with yourself during this month. Because sometimes you're feeling when you express yourself, there is a reaction or a 3D situation that comes through, but it might be you feel you're not being heard. But you've got to understand, is it coming from a place of an emotional block, or is it coming from a reality-based situation? Because it can be crosswise during this time, but we'll look into the rest of your reading to see how it interconnects. Now, this area where I'm going to discuss is anywhere you're placing your passion, anything you're wanting to move towards or had been, and your vices that might have been coming up during that time or during now. Now, you're looking at how you apply your energy, and you're wanting things to change for the better, and you're looking at it like there might be some conflicts around you. There may have been some injustices, and you're thinking you give the best to the situation, but people have done you wrong, and you're looking at it wanting a change in that dynamic, but you're quite wondering how that can come about. Now, it might be in the way you invest emotionally into these people, or maybe that they energetically have an energy of envy because they like your light. So it can be that you have some energy vampires around you, and so that directly then impacts your feelings. And when you're trying to retrieve the best for yourself, it's like you're spent. So when it comes to your friendships, your pairs, it can be colleagues, can be your relationships, it's like if you're giving it all to certain areas, by the time the trigger point comes around 360, you're not in the best vibration, and that's because of these areas. So have a look at how you can change that to turn it around, and things should move forward. Now, it might be you have this thing where you love helping people, but you can lead a horse to water you can't make it drink. A lot of us are directly reflecting on the outside, but we're being asked right now to reflect on the inside. As my elbow dropped off the table. Okay, you're going to be very private. Now, you being up in your head about this is not going to help you. If you need to talk to somebody about how that is, again, come from a place where they may not even know they're doing it, because there is crosswise. Now, this can be a past tense thing you're meditating on, of where you applied yourself in your friendships and your life, and where maybe you didn't get the best out of the situation. Can you change a way in which you are directly relating to it, or do you need to leave that energy behind? Now, it did make you feel vulnerable, but you also don't like feeling emotional. You have somehow, at times, perhaps connected the dots that by being emotional it meant vulnerability. But it's okay to be vulnerable, but it's like you've got one. It's like I see you guys putting a hat on for each thing. And you're getting tired of that. You're like, why can't I just be ongoingly, okay with just being a human being, and why do I have to micromanage everything I do? But it might be vice versa. It might be that you're really forcing the issue for people to accept it, but then that's about you, that's not about them, perhaps. And it can be vice versa. So it can be your frustration of, why do these people not directly understand who I am? Why do I have to keep explaining myself? Why do I have to keep going over similar cycles and keep doing things? It's a hugely psychoanalytical month. So don't be hard on yourself during this time, but you are going to get the very best out of it. Things are turning around and coming about. Now, in your money area, it might be people giving you advice of how to do things, but it's got to directly sit right with you. It can be that you know how to use money, but perhaps you're choosing not to use it correctly during these emotional cycles. It can be that we're getting triggered because, again, it is your sacral chakra. Try and get the sacral chakra balanced. Now, you can listen to 417 hertz to balance that. But again, it can be areas that are just really triggering you right now where you're utilizing that as a vice. Although you are concerned about the aspects, it can be a family-related dynamic that has got you to a point where you feel, it could be childhood where it's coming up in a trigger and you're thinking, gosh, mum and dad were always busy. So the only real thing it's a bit like a child going to the dentist. And it's creating, instead of accepting the emotion, it's, well, yes, we ripped your tooth out and it's painful. Go and have a lollipop. But you pulled the tooth out because you were eating candy. And now they've just created the same cycle and added a secondary habit to that. When I'm emotional, have lollies. Okay? In your health, people are telling you what you should and shouldn't do, and it's impacting you. It's impacting your emotions. It's at times impacting your psyche, and you're tired of it. And so it's making you distant, emotionally speaking. But, and we all go through this at some point in my life, and I can honestly say I have, where it was like you were trying to fit yourself in a shoebox, and you were a size 5 or a 41. And it was a size 39 or a 7. And you're thinking, but I don't fit. I've tried to file it away. I don't fit. Instead of, I can't say instead. I'd rather say, if this is what's happened to you, it's divinely guided. Look at how your value system is now. And if you feel that you're constantly explaining yourself for your personal choices, a lot of the planets are asking us, where do you want to be responsible, which has a direct cause and effect, good and bad karma, or where do you feel you would rather not have that aspect of responsibility? So it may be conversations with people that are directly impacting your health, but it's also about you taking your power back where you can take that control in your life. You do know in some shape or form that it can be a rebellious energy where you're thinking, well, I want to do what I need to do, okay? Why are you telling me and getting up in my face and saying what I should and shouldn't be doing? You actually do directly know, but it's an emotional related trigger point. So this can be eating, emotional eating or a lack of there. It can be partying too much and knowing that you're burning the candle at both ends, because remember, we'll have a look at what your passions and your pursuits and your vices might be. A trigger coming about because of injustice. Can be because somebody left you or didn't treat you right, you're partying. but you're burning the candle at both ends and you're hurting. You might be putting your health in jeopardy, being fatigued. Then being too private, not being open to love, affecting your health, affecting your self-esteem. Being vulnerable, how risky it made you feel because you put yourself out there and then maybe something didn't quite go according to plan, directly impacting, again, your health. Because it's not just, when it comes to health, it's not just I've got a flu or I broke my leg. It's the psychological warfare we have within ourselves. It's the emotional triggers from childhood. It's a collective energy compilement in a month. So be mindful of that so you're not harsh on yourself, but be reflective to a healthy degree to help you move forward. Now, what you're working on, you're working through your troubles. Now, this could be at work. This could be in your life. You feel you're always working through, emotions and triggers, and it's like, is this ever going to end? But there is going to be a judgment. You're going to make a decision. And it may be that you're laying the swords down. It might be you saying to yourself, but this is bloody hard work. Because what actually is blocking you from your emotions is thinking too much. Or maybe not thinking enough. And maybe you're thinking on that now. Does that make sense? That's a bit of an oxymoron. I was talking about that with someone the other day. Now, you were just living, and all these things come up in life. Vulnerability, you needing to then be private, but you were all-rounded. You were very grounded in who you were. You were just being you, whoever that was on that day. But also, conflict was caused through this. Can be through other people being jealous, other people gossiping, and conflict with that person that then came through to you because of their opinions of you, their behaviours towards you. Could have been a Taurus or a Pisces. Get back to that. And try not to think that being you means you're vulnerable. Because your emotional balance, although there might be delays, it's to meditate. And it might have caused troubles with things that you were working on and how you were dealing with them and in your work life. But you need to make some judgments because you're going to have a wake-up call. Now that can be on where you've been giving your energy to, what you've been doing, when you know some things need to be addressed. Spiritually speaking, there is going to be a temporary delay. It can be you get tired or you have a moment of clarity where you look at your life and you go, something's got to change. And it's like a reinvention. It's like, and I feel you're doing a fly on the wall stat. And you're looking at things and you're saying, that needs to be like that. That needs to be like that. Is that them? Is that me? And it's like, I do feel you sitting there, and I feel this epiphany is coming to you in a day, and it's massive, and it's, wow, I really need to change some things. And it's not a critical energy, it's a very observant energy, a reality-based energy of, yes, you could still be doing all this in 10 years, and, it can be also turning a blind eye to certain situations, be it on their side or your side, and it'd still be in the same energy. But the environment of the collective is, Saturn's not really letting us do that. That's a very Saturn energy. Look, let's do school now. Let's do shop. What's going on here? Okay. Where you invested incorrectly, spiritually speaking, this clarity is coming to you. Now, what you are not seeing coming is an ending of a chapter. And it can be connected to someone who passed over, can be an anniversary coming up, but for many of you, I feel this is more the energy. It can be the death of ego. And it's not that. Everyone has ego, right? It's you're humbling your energy, and it can be other people humbling around you as well, because it's collective energy going through all of us right now. But for you personally, it's an ending of something. It's an ending of looking at something, because you physically know shit's got to change. Whatever that is, your side or their side, you're like, right, Houston, it's time out on this frontier. We're having a good look at what we need to do, because I want my life to be amazing. Now, what you're not seeing also is that you have the ability to create. Now, when you get balanced, this is a very creative energy. This is a very abundant energy. There's mass potential for finances. There's mass potential for love. But for you to be balanced means you're happy with your life. You deal with the demons, and suddenly your power's back, your lights switch back on, a bit like Katy Perry, Rise. And you've got the steering wheel, Carrie Underwood. We can say Jesus take the wheel, but you know, where can we take our power back? Okay, relationship-wise. Now, this is if you're in a relationship or who you're thinking about. Your energy is, you're realizing where in sometimes you might have had some area where you could have put some work into a certain dynamic, and that could be you gave your power away, where you were letting them do something, and it's not really we have control over another person, where you could have applied decision making, where you could have set boundaries, because the planets are asking us, where can we set boundaries? Where are things balanced? Where have I been too tolerant? Where have I not been and have been taking responsibility? And what do I want to do now by setting my intentions? Now, the release of the energy, we would have been quite emotional by the end of last month, probably, and I'd say moving through the month, but it may peak up. But the manifestation time is definitely, you know, within the first week, especially near the Lionsgate portal. So you will find you'll be leaving things behind of an energy nature, the death of it, the end of it, done, and the resurrection. So if you're going, oh God, does that mean I'll never see X, Y, and Z? No, it doesn't. But the way in which you're going to relate to them, you're going to be a new person. So the way you tackle situations and handle situations are going to be very different. Now, the person, they may be a Pisces or a Cancer, a water sign. There is movement coming, but it can be that they're getting balanced too. And Sula made an interesting observation. Movement, energy, flowing, chakra. Chakra's aligned correctly. And from the lunar eclipse all the way through to the Lionsgate portal. Movement. So they're becoming more balanced. Or who you're wanting is going to need to be very balanced. Who you have perhaps is doing this work. Go look at their zodiac sign, see what's going on with them. Now, it can be you remember them this way and you're going, what happened? This is where you're working on. Remember, we're working on the past, so sometimes these energies can come through that as the meditation of the past. Now, you really want to get your life back on track. You want the power back. You want your life to move forward. But you can't have the pull within the relationship. It shouldn't be who's the captain of this relationship. Be the captain of your own domain and the team within it. Now, there may be some energies of there were potentials. It can be if you're in a relationship, you're reflecting on a time of when you had offers, and it can be on both sides. So it doesn't mean to say it's happening right now. It can be you reflecting on that, of where you applied your energy, where you didn't, how you gave love. But things are changing for the better. But you may be reflecting on people that did hurt you and what they did. But by reflecting on that, it's going to help release that energy. So regardless, there is going to be an ending and a new chapter. So in your love life, however this is going to go for you guys, it's divinely guided. So if it feels it's your side, you're going, oh no, like it's got to change. Now, This is a very karmic cycle where we can get triggered, where we can be assessing things and making very brash decisions. So try and keep super emotionally grounded before you make major decisions, so that you know you're coming from here today and what you're willing to give, what you're willing to take responsibility for, how you can look at it before you jump the gun. Because it is a lesson this month. This month is very much an assessment of all the people that are connected to us, how we've applied ourselves, where we want to put ourselves, and where we want to go from here. We might not be able to take the footings for it. We can do the action plan for it though. So if you are feeling blocked and you are wanting a booking, the link's below. Love and light, guys. Bye.